Yo, my name is Max, and you're listening to Paper Trails.
Today we are broadcasting from the unceded Suquamish territories. The Paper Trails podcast is a space where we try to make sense of society, culture, and identity. You can expect some jokes, fun, and maybe some tears too. On today's episode, we cover artist expression and social activism in the U.S. What does art do for society? Many people have asked this question with doubts of its usefulness. I know I have myself. Art has the power to make people question. It puts a mirror up to society. It makes you look deeper into your own thoughts. I've tried to decolonize myself through learning about cultures around the world. I found a lot of this through my love of hip-hop. Honestly, that's how I started learning and listening to the world. I was influenced by black role models who made me question my family and what our day-to-day discussions were. Through this, I found that we as a mostly white family don't discuss systemic racism enough. Maybe only a few conversations a year, compared to black families who are forced to talk about it every day out of protection. I saw that my ignorance was attributing to black people dying. With that fact in the back of my head every day, I felt a responsibility to fight. I attended Black Lives Matter marches and started to learn and grow. I had been working with my community since and had friends like Moannah who held me accountable as a person to fight for people who didn't have a way to just get space to put up their art. I could see myself as another white person just taking up space that others actually needed. Through that philosophy, I found faults in my own life as an artist. I started promoting for an art collective in Seattle, which was promoting some of the only black art shows in the city. From there, I met the OP team in Vancouver, and I've been doing work there as well. I have been on the back end of a major artist demonstration in Vancouver. I helped make the logo and advertisements for the event and listened to the leaders of the group who were black and indigenous for direction on everything. I realized that your role as a white person in these moments is to help where you're needed and to listen above all. I understand that white people have made this problem what it is, so we should have to do the most work to fix it, and we should take instructions from the black and indigenous leaders in our community instead of trying to solve it ourselves. I celebrate the fact that we raised $12,000 for black and indigenous creatives. I would also like to recognize the indigenous and how much work we have to do there on our side as white guests on this stolen indigenous land. Our guest today is an artist and dear friend of mine, Moannah Krome. We will be diving into their authentic world of expression. I've worked closely with Moannah over the last few years. We've stuck together through this fight to be able to make it as an artist. With our first 3 shows out of the way, we took a break to focus on our technique and personal evolution. As individuals, we pioneered our own styles within the modern merged disciplines. Moannah is a neo-abstract expressionist. Neo-Expressionism is a style of late modernist or early-postmodern painting and sculpture that emerged in the late 1970s. It is characterized by intense subjectivity and rough handling of materials. Moannah chose to add their own touch on the color choice of this style, using varnishes, creating a lighting effect that truly touches the soul. A memorable moment at our Blood Money show in Seattle was when Moannah made someone cry through their piece, and it touched my soul that we could create an environment for those types of deep emotions. I'm so glad to have been able to interview Moannah. If you want to follow them on Instagram, you can search Moannah_Krome official. MOANNAH_KROMEOFFICIAL. So we're here with Origin Papers today with an art interview. We have the amazing Moannah Krome.
Hello.
Yo. So we're just gonna get a little bit into your art background and stuff. Like,
You've been making art for how many years now? I mean, painting specifically, I guess.
I mean, I started painting when I met Cosmo, and that you.
Yo.
And that was when I was 18. I was just out of high school.
Right.
And you just did that.
We had the art show.
Yeah, you had that
there,
art show
sure.
out in the KP.
Talking to aliens.
Yeah, talking to aliens. Completely forgot the name. But I remember like all the pieces that were inside. Such a cool space. I love the couch and everything that you did in there.
And the reflective walls, the silver
reflective walls were
mylar.
so great.
Yeah, everything's
and, I remember like all the people that showed up. And it was this crazy moment that like I realized that was what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, and it was because of you. You did that for me. You did that for me. You opened that gateway for me.
But you had that love of expression, like always, for sure, ever since I met you. You know, that was clear to me.
I mean, that started a long time ago. Like, that started when I was a kid. Like, I was in elementary school when I first started getting into art.
Right.
And I, think I was in the 3rd grade when that happened. Mm-hmm. I was in 3rd grade, and I saw my teacher was reading a child book on Vincent van Gogh. Huh. And I remember seeing like the details and the way that the illustrationer did the Van Gogh style, brush techniques with the art. And I was so intrigued. And I think it was because of the epileptic medication I was on at the time. But it all started moving around for me. So I was tripping while looking at, and I started crying. The teacher had to stop and ask if I was okay. I was like, no, this is so beautiful. I just could look at this forever. And I even stayed inside for recess for 3 weeks. 3 weeks I stayed inside at recess just looking at this book because I just didn't have any friends. Yeah. I didn't have any friends, around that time.
Mm-hmm. So you have to find your own ways to express while you're not around people.
And then I found out Van Gogh cut off his ear. And I went through an obsession about wanting to cut off my own ear for a moment.
Oh.
I was a little kid, okay? When you're a little kid, you don't process that you're gonna cut off your ear. You're like, oh, I want to, and then you take a butter knife and you're like, oh, no, that hurts. No, thank you. I'm good.
I feel you. I used to try to blow up my stomach with an air pump to try to make myself fatter, through my belly button, but that didn't work either at all.
So yeah, I mean, it was, and then I got in 7th grade, and I started working on sketches, and I just wasn't paying attention in my art class. My first art class ever. Didn't really pay half attention.
Right.
Except for history, Salvador Dali and Picasso and all of those.
And you're studying the people, behind it.
But anytime we were just going over technique, I was doing my own thing. And he took away my notebook and had me held after class, and then he looked through my notebook the whole entire time, saw all these sketches.
Told me about this,
and I got extra credit. And so I got an A that semester, but it got so boring to me that my heart wasn't in it because I was so naturally good at art. So I started doing
but it's
I switched out of that class into acting class, and then that's when I started getting into acting, and I started getting into those areas, and then I opened in 8th grade a fucking show choir, and that didn't last long because my heart wasn't in it.
Right.
And so I was doing acting for this long period of time, and then I got into advanced acting, still wanting to do art, but being told you can only pick one class. That was the biggest problem of our education system back in the day, is that you were told you were only allowed to pick one thing that you love, and then you have to deal with all these other things that you fucking hate,
right?
And that you're required to deal with. No, what's that going to teach us? That's going to teach us to resist against what we don't like and pursue against what we love.
Yeah, and the one thing that you do love, the class for it, isn't even properly set up to make you inspired and show you different things and techniques to take it your own route. I do want to ask about we were talking about before, how you're so direct with your messaging that your pieces and the titles are very obviously just throwing you towards the meaning. But then, because it's so obvious, then they have to look further at, like, who the actual person is behind it, like, why you felt that way.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering with, like, a piece like gender identity, you know what I mean? Like, that 4-panel piece.
Oh, okay, that
What
wasn't
is-
gender identity, that was actually gender fluidity.
Gender fluidity. Yo.
Gender fluidity had to do with my struggle for the past 4 years.
Right.
So from sophomore year to senior year, I was struggling on who the fuck I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about, like sexuality, I'm talking about gender. Because ever since I was a child, and this looks really bad, but I mean, I was punished for wearing dresses as a child.
Yeah.
I got sent into timeout. I got spanked for it. I got told, you're not a girl, be a man. I was told this by my father and my mom, who was she's Christian, so I understand where she was coming from. It was that constant Christian fear that they impact about homosexuality.
They make gender like a thing of like only one.
Well, the reason why is they make gender this two-sided thing is because Christians felt that they could control the populace that way. They felt this need to go against what Greek philosophers were discovering in gender, that it was a spectrum. But what was going on with Christians at the point is that they were like, no, it can't be that way. God made only man and woman. And the reason why is it instilled fear. It instilled that you had to be this way or this fucking way.
Yeah,
that's how they always kept it.
That's the same thing that they did exactly right here. Like, the indigenous people, like, they had things like what is it called? They were two-spirited. That's what they called it. And that's a thing where, like, they took that. The colonists, like, they took that, and now, you can't even identify as something else with your gender because we have this such rigid structure.
Yeah.
Like, you can't even get married, but, like, you can't
that was
do
mainly,
these things.
it's sad because there's this culture that still believes in that today. And, I mean, we have people who are dying and being killed in other countries because that stupid ideology is still being instilled into people.
Right.
And that's a very dictational viewpoint to say, hey, you can only be this way or the other. If you don't, you're punished by death.
Right.
That's the sad part. It's like people aren't being able to be free to be themselves. And when you're not being able to be free and be yourself, you're trapped. Art is made to make you feel free. It's made to allow you to express. It's not made to make you feel comfortable. Art is made to make the uncomfortable comfortable and the comfortable uncomfortable.
Right, let's grow.
Let's grow
as
a group. Let's grow as a group. And as a colony of artists, of expressionists, we are the revolution.
Yeah, let's move together. For real. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Now I want everyone to repeat after me. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. I am a revolutionary. Remember that.
Maybe we'll walk by. Yeah. So, we're back with Moannah Krome.
Hello.
Yo. Looking beautiful. Once again.
Thank you.
Well, you're welcome. So, we're going to be asking more questions about the meaning of your pieces. Let's just dive into the pieces because there's so much in there. You know what I mean? Let's just try to get a little bit.
All right.
So, which piece do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about this newest one here, or?
I mean, yeah, we can talk about the newest one, but I mean, I also love talking about the older ones, like this one, color. I'm not sure why I called it color. I guess it's just because I mainly wrote down color. But it was kind of about being, being black and being in a lower class area and being raised in a lower class area and, the stuff that comes with it. And, the music, the art, the drugs that you can say yes or no to, stuff that I have been smoking. Like, I've been smoking since I was 12. I was offered heroin, but I've never done heroin. I've always smoked pot. I love the city, I used to love long walks at night before all that creepy stuff started happening. But, it's just kind of about, being young and dealing with it. And then my Basquiat piece that I'm still working on, and it's to honor Jean-Michel Basquiat, who died of heroin when he was 27. It was a really sad story behind that. But, I really respect him. He was a revolutionary artist. He had a interesting, unique voice that wasn't really shared with a lot of his, people.
What did you mean by boom for real?
Well, so that was actually something that he used to write down constantly in his artwork is boom for real.
Right.
And he even, I think it was like during when he was forming his band Gray, because he was in a band. He didn't even know how to play instruments. That's the interesting part about him.
He played a sound box.
Yeah, he played like a sound box, but he didn't know how to play any instruments. So like anytime that he was playing instruments, it was completely like off chord, but it had a unique sound.
It was great.
Yeah,
it was something
super different. And it's Gray is considered one of, interesting fact, I looked it up, Gray is considered one of the rarest hip-hop albums in history.
Really?
Yeah.
And they spun a few records too, yeah.
He was ahead of his time. So I've always had a respect for Jean-Michel.
No doubt.
And then this newest piece is to talk about what's going on, especially in America, and with this beautiful movement called Black Lives Matter and what we try to stand for. And it talks about how, the everyday fear for young black students. One of my everyday fears back as a kid was walking home, being stopped by cops and being shot. So, it is a fear. It's the reality that we face in America.
Completely.
The bullets represent kind of, the everyday reality. The American flag underneath represents the reality of an everyday black American.
Yeah.
But, it's also supposed to be this painting that's making people aware that this is a situation. This is a constant thing that's been going on for more than 140 years, Yeah. It's been ongoing. It's been numerous.
And it's not going to stop until we demand it. You know what I mean? Until we just keep fighting every day.
But with that said, I do not ever condone, hating on somebody because they're white, or being angry because they're white. Half of it is training ourselves to forgive. Forgiving is the cure to love. And that eventually cancels out hate. That's what we need in our life. We need love, and we need love now more than ever. Because, I have seen some stuff on both sides where I look at it and I don't see the movement as it once was anymore. A couple months back I went onto a Black Lives Matter page, and there was all these memes about killing white children, and I was disgusted because that's not what we've ever stood for.
Right.
We've always been standing for equality. Black Lives Matter doesn't mean black lives just matter. All lives do matter, but not all lives do matter. Pedo lives don't matter, but So,
and they won't matter until it's like,
and it won't matter until Black Lives Matter, and that's the biggest issue. And it's like we also got to recognize that we got to fight against this system. We got to fight against systematic racism, because the system was designed to hold people back. It was designed to hold people of minority back. One of the very laws at the very beginning, after they illegalized segregation, is that you weren't considered really a slave unless you were in prison. What kind of ideology is that? How could we have stooped to that low? So I try to make people pursue that when they look at my art. I try to make the uncomfortable feel comfortable, and the comfortable feel uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the job.
Yeah. Because how uncomfortable you are because of their ignorance.
Most
you know what
definitely.
I mean? Your fear of fucking death. Like,
But I also welcome it because, part of being a revolutionary is also recognizing that there is people that will come after you if you become too big. That they will harass you and they will keep on trying to scare you. And if you keep on saying, no, I'm going to stand my ground, they will kill you. But, that's where we come in and we say enough's enough and we stand our ground.
Mm-hmm. Completely. I'm not going to be scared.
Most definitely.
What?
It's like Malcolm X said, I'd rather die standing on my feet than die on my knees. And I feel the same. I'd rather die standing on my feet than die on my knees.
Completely.
Most definitely.
I'm with you. Alright. That's deep. We're going deep with Moannah. I think we're going to call that interview. Love. Cheers. Thank you for doing the interview, Moannah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
Really, I fucking, hell yeah. Love Origin Papers. Love Origin Papers. Everybody should always follow Origin Papers. Follow on Facebook, follow on Instagram, follow everywhere. Origin Papers.
This is our afternoon ad promo.
This is our afternoon ad promo.
Alright, we out. Doses.
Bye.